And it's valid. I have this philosophy about entrepreneurs, and it's validated by my mentor and friend, Dr. John Maxwell. Uh, over 70 years ago, he coined a phrase where he says everything rises and falls on leadership. And I'm a firm believer in that. And so I want you to understand that the most important form of leadership is self-leadership. And that's another way of saying self-discipline, and it's discipline yourself to learn how to work on your business instead of in your business. Lots of times, solopreneurs and new entrepreneurs and folks, they get caught up in the everyday minutia and the activities related to running the business. And as a result, the business doesn't grow at the rate that it could grow, because you become that one person trying to do everything. And new entrepreneurs think that that's the way that it has to be until they start generating enough revenue to be able to expand and add people and whatever else it is that they need to grow. But it's actually just the opposite. Until you make the decision that you want to expand and you begin doing those things that'll move you in a direction of expansion, you'll always be caught in the minutia. So you'll always be the one frying the chicken instead of running the chicken restaurant. You'll always be the one repairing the car instead of running the car repair shop. You'll always be the one doing that until you decide to do what you've heard, that old story, sharpen the saw, right? You heard about two individuals in competition trying to cut down this big, fat, wide tree. And in the competition, one individual just madly continues to saw and saw and saw at this thick tree. But the other individual saws, and then he takes a break to go and sharpen his saw. Then he comes back and he cuts some more. And then when he feels his saw getting dull, he takes a break and he goes to sharpen his saw some more. And eventually he catches up and passes the individual who never stops to sharpen the saw. And so the fact that you all are participating in this cohort, it's an opportunity for you to sharpen the saw. So I'm just saying thank you right up front for your willingness to take time away from your business to focus on just you and focus on growing yourself, because that's the secret to really achieving success and really growing your business, is develop yourself. And I'll say this last thing and then we'll get into our topic for the night. And that is, John Maxwell talks about the law of the lid in his 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. He talks about the law of the lid. And it may even show up in his 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. But if you are a level 4 leader, you're a level 4 entrepreneur. I'm trying to keep my hand on the screen. There it is. You're a level 4 entrepreneur and you don't do anything to grow your leadership skills, your business will always bounce up against that level 4 leadership skill set that you have. And your business will never grow to a level 5 business, a level 6 business, and a level 7 business, because you're a level 4 leader. And the business will never outperform your ability to lead it. It will never outperform your leadership. So you've got to develop yourself from a level 4 entrepreneur, a level 4 leader, to a level 5 leader, so the business can catch up. And then grow yourself to a level 6 leader, so the business can catch up. And as you continue to grow your leadership ability, you grow your entrepreneurial ability, and the business catches up. The business will never outgrow your ability to lead it. And as well, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Was that you introducing me, Tracy, or was that Donna Lisa introducing me? It was Tracy. So as Tracy mentioned, financials is something that most entrepreneurs are afraid of. And they tend to leave it to their bookkeeper, and they tend to leave it to their accountant. And they tend to just say, as long as I got money in the bank, right, I'm okay. Do I have enough money to continue to work this week? Do I have enough money to continue to work this month? And it does not have to be that way. The numbers don't have to be frightening. They don't have to be to the point where you only want to look at them when your accountant or your bookkeeper says, hey, you need to check this out, or hey, this is what's going on. you need to be comfortable and confident enough to understand and know your numbers to the point that you can make sound financial decisions based upon what your numbers actually tell you. Your numbers will tell you when you can hire another employee. Your numbers will tell you when you can expand from the small space you're in to a larger space that you want to be in. Your numbers will tell you when you can add more inventory. This is not stuff that you need to just shoot from the hip and say, hey, I'm going to order some extra inventory. The numbers will actually tell you when and how you can do that. And so when you come to understand your numbers, the answers to those questions actually work for you. So I'm going to open up my screen here in just a second. Let me pull it up for you. I'm going to use a couple of slides from our Boots to Business course. So as opposed to what I've done for you guys in the past, I'm using a couple of slides from our Boots to Business course from module 4, which is the economics of the business, so that I can go right into the statements and help you ladies to understand how important these statements are. Okay, so I'm good to go. Let me just share my screen. Ready to go. Got it. And then go to share screen. Right there. And then share the screen. Let's put it in PowerPoint mode first. There we go. And then share the screen. Okay. All right, so ladies, what are you seeing on your screen right now? All right, you all are muted just in case you didn't know that. So
we're seeing the adjusting the levers of economic model affects the bottom line.
Okay, so let me just give you 3 quick examples of understanding of why it's so important for you to understand the economics of your business and understand your numbers. So here's a giddy up coffee shop, and the price of their coffee is $2 per cup. In this month, they sold 3,200 cups of coffee. So times $2 per cup, that's $6,400 in total sales. That's their sales revenue that came in. After the revenue, I'm sorry, 1 second, ladies. Where's my mute button? Never mind. I'll have this person call me back. I don't know who that is. Any sense? So $6,400 is their total revenue sales. And then they have their costs, right? This is the cost of the coffee grains, the coffee, the cups, the stirs and sugar packets and stuff like that. So it costs them 65 cents per cup of coffee. Take that same 65 cents times 3,200 cups, and that's where this $2,080 comes from. So 6,400 minus the 2,080 leaves the 4,320 bucks. That's their variable cost, the cost that's associated with each and every cup of coffee. So don't worry about it. Don't get into the weeds yet. I'm going to show you something. But then, because of this business, they have some fixed costs. They're renting the space that they own. They got a cart that they own, transportation, utilities, insurance. And in your business, you may have some fixed costs. Unless you're in a service business, you probably don't have these variable costs up here. But in any sense, let me just give you this example. Notice that their fixed costs come out to $4,320, which is the same as their gross margin. So their profit is 0. With you as an entrepreneur, what do you think the next most important thing that they can do to grow their business? To get past this profit equaling 0. What would you think they need to do?
Raise the cost of the cup, price per cup.
Raise the price per cup. Good job, Sharita. Anybody else?
Or units, right?
Sell more units, Simone?
Figure out what costs can be, I guess, decreased, like their variable costs. The fixed costs will stay the same, but the variable costs can be eliminated or decreased of some sort.
Great. So I'm so proud of you ladies for coming up with that answer. most solopreneurs and new entrepreneurs, the first thing they think about is say, well, I just need to sell more. I need a higher volume. So what they tend to do is focus on volume of sales. So notice the first thing was to increase the sales volume. They said, we're just going to sell more. So they didn't raise their prices. They just sold more. But it went from 3,200 cups to 4,000 cups. So again, 3,200 cups times $2 is 6,400, but 4,000 cups times $2 is 8,000. So now they got $8,000 in revenue. Their costs are still the same. They didn't do anything with their costs. So they still got, in terms of variable costs, they got 65 cents times 4,000 cups. So now it's equal to $2,600, but it's still 65 cents per cup of coffee. That was the cost here. And it's still the same cost. So they haven't done anything to adjust their costs. So 8,000 now minus the 2,600 gives them $5,400 in gross margin. Their fixed costs are the same. Doesn't matter whether they sell 1 cup or 1,000 cups. The fixed, they still got to pay the same rent, the same cart lease, same insurance. All the fixed costs remain the same. They're still at $4,320. So they did, in fact, make a profit of $1,080 by selling more, increasing their volume. But as Sharita mentioned, and Kelly as well, there's a more effective way for you as a business owner to grow your business. And it's not just to sell more. It's actually to understand the economics of your business. This person understood that if they raised the price of their coffee by 25 cents and sold the same number of cups at 4,000, now their revenue is $9,000. But they also went out and spoke with their suppliers. And they hung out with their suppliers and say, hey, I'm buying so much coffee grains from you. Instead of charging me 50 cents for the coffee grains, how about you charge me 48 cents? I'm buying so many paper cups from you. Instead of you charging me 5 cents per cup, why don't you charge me 4 cents for the cups? And the same thing with the other supplies. They went from 10 cents down to 8 cents. You guys see those changes? So now their variable cost, the cost per each cup of coffee is 60 cents. 60 cents times 4,000 is where the 2,400 comes from. So now 9,000 in total sales minus $2,400 in costs leaves them with $6,600 of gross margin. Again, the fixed costs don't change. It doesn't matter how many cups you sell. It doesn't matter about everything else. You still pay the same rent, the same lease, everything, insurance, everything's still the same. So they got $4,320 in fixed costs taken away from their gross margin. Now they've got $2,280 in profit. And that comes because the owner understood their numbers. The owner understood that what was impacting their business and what was holding their business down from growing was not the sales volume. It wasn't the need to sell more. It was the need to manage the efficiencies of the business. And the efficiencies of the business is raising your profit, is managing your margins, right? There's only 2 ways that you can adjust your margins, right? You can either raise your price or you can find ways to lower your costs. There's no other ways to adjust your margin. Either raise your price or find ways to lower your costs. Well, finding ways to lower your costs, that's a conversation between you and your vendors and or find a different supplier source, right? So if you've been buying at a regular store, maybe you go buy at a wholesale store, you buy at Sam's Club or so on and so forth. The other thing to lower your costs is that conversation that you have with your actual vendors, and then it's just finding other vendors. Your vendors will negotiate with you if you stand strong as the owner of your business and you have that conversation. They want your business. They want to do business with you and they want your business. And lots of times your vendors will say, well, that's our price. And here's our points where we break off differently. So you buy this much and then our price goes to here. You buy this much and our price goes to here. That's their standard policies and their standard procedures. And you don't have to operate according to their standard policies and their standard procedures when you are willing to have the conversation. So you can go to any one of your suppliers and say, hey, look, I'm trying to grow my business. This is what's going on right now, and I need you to work with me. And I don't know if I need you to work with me for the next 6 months or the next 12 months or 18 months, whatever time frame you as an entrepreneur decide, But that's the conversation you have with your vendor. I need you to work with me for this amount of time. I understand what your standard policy is, but I'm asking you to work with me individually, work with me, and let's figure this thing out, right? So what do we need to do, right? You always get an answer to the question that you ask, right? So don't ask yes or no questions. Ask the how question and the what do we need questions. How do we get a lower food cost? How do we lower the price on our cups other than meeting your volume numbers? Because the vendor's got a volume number. The vendor's going to say, yeah, if you buy 500 cups from me, I can lower the size. Well, other than me buying 500 cups for you and increasing my volume of cups that I'm purchasing, how can we lower my costs? Even if we just do it for the next 6 months or the next 12 months, how can we lower my costs? What do we need to do to establish a relationship between you and I as the vendor? Right? They don't want to lose your business. In the meantime, you should be shopping other vendors for your same sources of supplies. So don't ever put yourself in a position where you only have one source for your raw materials and your resources and the things that you need for your business. Always have another source that you can go to. Even if that other source costs you more, just have that other source in your pocket. It gives you negotiating power, and it also keeps you comfortable and confident whenever your supplier runs into problems. If your supplier believes that they're the only one that can get you the goods and services that you need to run your business, then you've lost your leverage. So your supplier needs to know that you have another source. Whether that source is high or not is irrelevant. The fact that you have another source is enough for your current supplier to want to have a conversation with you and to want to negotiate with you. So besides, when you're looking at your margins, I'm going to go back. Understanding the economics of your business, there's 4 major components that you have to understand about your business. The revenue drivers. Who can tell me what revenue drivers are?
How you generate most of your sales, like your main customer segments?
Okay, so it doesn't have to be your good answer, Kelly, but it doesn't have to be your main. The revenue drivers are all the ways that you separate your customers from their money. So any way that you can get money from your customer, that's a revenue driver. And the challenge for many entrepreneurs, new small business owners, solopreneurs, is they typically only have one revenue driver at most. So Kelly, how many revenue drivers do you have?
2.
2. What are your revenue drivers?
Just mainly conferences and festivals at the current time.
Okay, so for conference, so you told me your distribution channel, and I want to know how you get paid. So what are the different ways that what are the different things that people pay you for?
The direct service for the lactation mobile milk space.
Okay, so they pay to go into the space.
Yes, so it's direct B2B. Mothers don't pay. It's the actual business, the event planners that pay for that.
Okay, so the event planner pays you in order for you to bring your mobile thing on site.
Yes.
So on and so forth. And then who else pays you and how do they pay you?
If I acquire a sponsor. So if a sponsor would like to sponsor an event, not necessarily hosting the event, but if they identify an event they would like to sponsor, so I would obtain the sponsor and they would pay for the service directly.
Okay, good. So she's got 2 revenue drivers. She's got the actual event planner themselves as one way for her to get money, for her to be on site. And then she's got the a sponsor that can pay typically the same fee for you to be on that location. They're just the one paying for it instead of you.
Yes.
Okay, so Sharita, let's go to Simone. Simone, what other ways can Kelly generate revenue in her mobile unit? And I'm sorry, ladies, I got to go off camera for a second. I got to take a bite of this chocolate. But go ahead, I'm listening.
I can understand. Yeah, I mean, I can understand. It's not that I agree with this, but it's just an idea that there be, that the mothers get charged. But I understand why you wouldn't want to do that, but it's just an option, something nominal, I suppose, because those little things would build up, I guess. But I kind of like that it's free, but
Yeah. So another thing I've considered, Simone, is just to provide the breastfeeding essentials, because that's like
Ah.
cost. They could pay for that, not necessarily the sponsor or the event planner. So the breastfeeding essentials, instead of coming out of my pocket as this is included service, this is an optional service, and mothers would pay for that directly. So
There we go.
good job.
Now that's what we're talking about in terms of revenue drivers, right? So you've already been paid to be on site. Now that you're on site and you have mothers coming into your mobile unit, what are other ways that you can generate revenue? And you can generate marginal revenue by selling the things that they need in there, right? So maybe they came in there and they didn't have the cloth that they need to cover over themselves, or maybe they came in there and maybe you have pumps, right? And so maybe you have a special pump or something that I don't know. Maybe you have a special pump and they don't have that special pump, and they come in there and now you have a little retail section in there where they can get the specialty pump that they might need, or even the bottles that maybe they want to pump up and then fill up some bottles. So on and so forth. So maybe you sell some bottles. So there's other little things that you can sell that are in there. What else could she sell, Sharita?
I don't know about sale, but I was gonna say maybe ask for referrals.
Okay, ask for a referral. So that's another revenue source, is to get it through referrals and so forth. And those referrals can come not only from event planners who can refer you to other events, but it can come from the nursing mothers who obviously are at this event, so they probably attend other events, and they can tell you about other events that are on their calendar that you can connect to and see if you can show up at those other events. But when they're nursing in your nursing station, what else are they doing? I mean, how much time do they usually spend in there?
30 minutes to an hour.
30 minutes to an hour. So what else are they doing with that 30 minutes to an hour while they're sitting there nursing? What else?
Just sitting there with the baby. There's a lay space. They might be laying down, or just sitting in their area, pumping or breastfeeding baby. But it's just, I'm thinking like the breastfeeding essentials, but just hearing about what Sharita has said about the referrals, I'm just thinking about my actual clients. If they provide a referral, maybe they could get a discount on their next service that I provide the event. So think of a referral incentive for my clients when I'm moving forward.
Right. And so I'm a mother, and I'm sitting on one of your comfortable sofas or beds or lounge chairs, sitting on one of your lounge chairs, and I'm nursing, and I'm gonna be here for 30 minutes to an hour. What other thing could I be doing with that 30 minutes or an hour?
Watching TV, like on the airplane.
Okay, I could be watching TV.
Yep.
What else could I be doing?
You're supposed to be looking at that baby.
Okay, I'm looking at the baby. What else could I be doing?
There's, I mean, like Simone said, the attention is, really given on baby, but there could be some advertisement in there. I'm just thinking about if I just, if folks want to advertise within this space, different areas, I could charge for advertisement of different companies that want to advertise like baby products or just the services that they provide within the trailer. Maybe I could have that as a revenue source.
Okay, so go back to your retail. What else could you retail to the mother that's in there?
Breast pad.
Aromatherapy.
Breast pad. I'm sorry. Who said what?
Aromatherapy.
Aromatherapy.
And breast pads, breast milk bags. There's nipple cooling cream for mom. There's a lot of essentials that I could sell.
We already got the essentials covered, Kelly. I want you to go down another lane.
Let's see.
I was thinking diapering.
Am I the only reader on the call?
Oh, music.
No, I put, you could rent books, sell headphones for the phones.
Okay.
Sell
Yeah,
Bernadine. I didn't even look at the chat. Oh, there you go. I had my chat closed. Sorry, Bernadine. Let me look at it.
Okay, she's in the chat.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I wasn't watching.
I had my chat closed.
Thank you, Bernadine. Yeah, baby blankets mother can use, diapering, listen to music, There it is, rent books. I'm sorry, I didn't see that earlier, but that's what I was looking for.
Okay.
For someone to say. I'm sorry, Bernadine, I didn't have my chat open. But yeah, renting books, right? I'm gonna be here 30 minutes to an hour. There's books that you can provide or something of that nature. And at the same time, you can build your following. If you have a blog or something of that nature, you can connect them to your blog and connect them to you, right? You can connect them to you. So that's enough on messing with Kelly for now. Sharita, I don't know your business, so back me up and help me out.
I am a Mary Kay beauty consultant.
Okay, Mary Kay Beauty Consultant. So you guys have a set, you guys have a set quote unquote directory or menu of products that Mary Kay folks have, right?
Correct.
So your revenue drivers is each one of your individual products. But what's another revenue driver that you can have and not violate any of your Mary Kay relationships?
So
You probably already do it and you may not be charging for it. Because part of the Mary Kay system is designed for you to do this for free in order to demonstrate to clients.
like parties and demonstrations and
Right, so you do parties and demonstrations, that's part of the Mary Kay system, but is there anything to stop you from hosting a seminar or workshop on different beauty things? Beauty,
no, I don't think so.
so why couldn't you build yourself out as a beauty expert? And instead of just doing free parties, what if every now and then, maybe once a quarter or once a month, you held a seminar or workshop on beauty? I don't know, something on beauty,
Skincare.
skincare.
Mhm.
What if you just became the expert on skincare? And
Oh,
once a month or once a quarter, or whatever time frame you chose, you charge a nominal fee for folks to just, you're not selling a product, you're just charging them to come to a seminar as you being the expert on skincare. Come learn about skincare. And you charge them a nominal fee. That becomes another revenue driver for you.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm saying this is because we tend to only think of our individual product as our revenue driver. But there's other ways that you can separate your customers from their money by utilizing your expertise and by staying in the same ballpark, in the same realm, and finding what are the other things that your customers need when they're in your environment, when they're around you. What are the other things that they need? What are the other things that could make their experience with you more of an experience, as opposed to, okay, I'm nursing, or okay, I came to this free party, I learned about these products. That's typically where your presentations are, right, Sharita?
Correct.
You know, product demonstrations. Well, what if I didn't come to you to do a product demonstration? What if I came and I just learned something about skincare itself? Had nothing to do, products was obviously somewhere in the conversation, but the main focus of this seminar, this workshop, was just to learn about skincare. That's it. And I'm building up my expertise as a skincare. And I'll give you an example. Is my daughter does Herbalife, right? And so my wife and I are constantly being invited to these fitness boot camps. And I mean, really, that's what. So she attended the Army's Master Fitness Training course, so she has that credentialing and everything else, and she develops programs for reserve units to help them train their reserve units from a fitness standpoint. But my wife and I are always getting these invites to these fitness boot camps. And we go to these fitness boot camps, and at the end of the boot camp, we end up getting something related to Herbalife, like getting a protein shake or something like that, or energy shake to get our energy back after the boot camp. But she's really built herself out as a fitness expert and is able to charge just for the boot camps. It becomes another revenue stream. Even though the Herbalife system is designed for you to host these camps and talk about why you need this product after you finish this exercise, because she's building herself up as an expert, she charges for these boot camps separate from Herbalife. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So the same thing, Simone, tell me about your business.
I just wanted to make one recommendation for Sharita. I don't know if
Okay.
it's allowed, but could you do like bridal parties or something like that? You know, I know some people do that where they actually will go to the bridal party and do the makeover for them. And I'm not sure if you can do that with Mary Kay, but it was just came to my mind.
Sounds
So
like an
my-
excellent idea.
Yeah. So my business is educational consulting. So
Okay.
I am an English coach for international doctors who are coming here for advanced graduate medical education. And so my revenue drivers are right now it's all online courses. I have more than one course. And also I just went onto a new platform called Mighty Networks. And so I have a combination of free stuff and paid stuff. And I am trying to scale by taking these kind of as a communications coach for these residency programs. So I'm hoping to try to get corporate contracts by the end of the year.
Okay.
So that's what I'm building to. So I'm just, I just sell to individuals right now, but I'm hoping to move on to those contracts.
Good. So I like what I heard because contract becomes another revenue stream for you. So most of you are probably thinking that the VBOC is a government agency. The VBOC is not a government agency. It's one of my revenue streams. I have a contract with the U.S. Small Business Administration and the Department of Defense. That's what established the VBOC. So it's in real life, I'm an executive coach and an entrepreneur coach. It's what I do. And I was looking for another revenue stream, much like Simone. Instead of just having my clients pay me for one-on-one coaching, I started doing seminars. So I get paid to do seminars, and I get paid to do webinars, and I get paid to do workshops and so on and so forth. And then I have corporate clients that pay me to come in and coach their leaders and so forth. And that becomes a revenue stream. But all of those revenue streams were revenue streams where I was having to rely on selling to a client, the client buying my service, and then going forward from there. And then I discovered this thing called government contracting, just much like corporate contracting, where somebody can pay me right up front for a deliverable that comes over time. So the federal government, the U.S. Small Business Administration, Department of Defense, they pay me in full for a 5-year contract to deliver the services that I deliver through the VBOC. And so that became another revenue stream for me, was to be able to establish the VBOC and be able to have that revenue stream. So we talked about margins. That was a simple one. That's where we started. You either raise your prices or you find ways to lower your costs. And then we just had a little conversation about revenue drivers. I'm going to skip volumes and I'm going to go to this thing called operating leverage. For you to understand operating leverage, let me back up. Who understands or knows what operating leverage is before I get into the weeds? Okay. So look at the word leverage. And leverage simply means that you're connected to something in such a way that it's almost got you bound up. This is a different way that we're talking about using leverage. And operating leverage says that your operations are bound up by this particular thing that's holding you down. And so to understand operating leverage, you have to understand the difference between variable costs and fixed costs. And I know most of you do, but let me just run through it real quickly. Variable costs are associated directly with the product that you sell. The more product that you sell, the higher your cost. The less product that you sell, the lower your cost, so on and so forth. That in a service business like you, Simone, you typically don't have variable costs because there's your cost is what you charge per hour, right? Variable costs usually come in when you have products and you have all of these other things that go into the product to produce that product. And the more of that product that you produce, the more of the raw material that you need to go into it. So Kelly, you and Simone, typically as providing a service typically don't have very much variable cost, right? It's typically not something you guys see on your financials. But for those who have products, you have variable costs associated with those products. And then you have fixed costs. The fixed costs are the costs that don't change no matter what. Doesn't matter whether you sell 1 unit or you sell 1,000 units, you have this cost. So for most cases, the single entrepreneur or the solopreneur typically has a cell phone bill, right? Because they're doing everything from their cell phone. Or they should have, if they don't, they should have insurance, some type of commercial insurance, liability insurance policy, errors and omissions policy. They should have some type of policy, some type of insurance, something that they're paying on an annual basis or whatever the case may be. And then for other fixed costs, you might have a facility or something. If you have a facility. Dana, how about you?
I don't have a facility. We
Okay.
have a business.
I'm sorry.
We have a mobile business.
Okay, you have a mobile business. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, depending upon how mobile you and Kelly's businesses are, if you have a certain geographic area that you operate in, transportation might be a fixed cost for you, right?
Correct.
To move your mobile vehicle from one point to another, that could be a fixed cost if you operate in a specific geographic area.
Right.
If you now operate in unlimited geographic areas, then that transportation could be a variable cost because of fuel and vehicle maintenance and all the other stuff associated with it. And that's between you and your bookkeeper and accountant to know whether or not these costs are level enough to consider them as fixed costs, or whether they fluctuate enough that they're tied to the individual service itself. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So for Kelly, because in many cases, her event planner is paying her, transportation could easily be a variable cost because, Kelly, do you charge a fixed price for you to be on site, or does your cost include the distances you have to travel to show up there?
Yeah, it's all inclusive. I consider the travel fee. So I consider the gas. So I'm trying to service within a 50-mile radius. So I take that into
Okay.
account, the average cost, with the gas fluctuations for the 50-mile
Right.
radius it takes to actually drive to and from.
Right.
So it is a fixed rate, but anything outside that 50-mile radius, I do tack on an additional travel fee because that's going to cost more than what I originally calculate, in the fixed cost.
Okay, good. So it sounds like we have an understanding of fixed versus variable across the board. Bernadine, how about you?
I think I'm on mute. So I think with me, I relate a lot to you because being what I do is professional development, John Maxwell leadership training. So I think
Okay.
my fixed cost would be my travel cost.
Mhm.
My internet, because I do a lot of stuff via Zoom.
Right. So internet is a fixed cost. Paying for the Zoom if you pay for it.
Yes.
Okay.
The materials that I have to purchase.
Okay. All right. So in some cases, Bernadine, the materials that you purchase may be associated with the delivery of the service that you're providing. So, for example, if you're getting ready to teach at a corporation the 21 laws of leadership, and you're ready to teach that at a corporation, you need those workbooks. Those workbooks are tied to the class that you're teaching, right? And the group that you're teaching. So it becomes a variable cost because if you're teaching 20 people, you buy 20 books.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, if you're teaching 5 people, you buy 5 books. So it's a variable cost because it depends, you buy it according to the number of people that you're teaching, so on and so forth. Versus a fixed cost, as you mentioned, yes, your internet, your any insurance that you have, anything of that nature. So once you understand fixed cost versus variable cost, what follows behind that is knowing your break-even point. If you have high fixed costs, this line is slightly going up because of the variable costs that are causing it to go up. So you had to buy extra books because you're not teaching 21 people, you're teaching 50 people. So now you had to buy extra books. So your cost went up slightly because you had to spend some more money to buy 25 extra books and so forth. But your fixed costs are what they are, so forth. And as people pay for your products and services, as you sell more units, you run into what's called your break-even point. Once you know where your break-even point is, this is where the idea of leverage comes into place. If you have high fixed costs, you are highly leveraged. And that means before you can really be making profit, you got all this other high fixed cost stuff that you got to pay for. So when Kelly got started, to get started, she needed that mobile unit. That mobile unit was a startup cost for her, not a fixed cost for her, right? A fixed cost for you, Kelly, would be if you had a stationary location and you had to pay for that location and folks had to come to your location. Does that make sense? If you were parked somewhere, somebody had to come to you.
Right.
Maybe you're mobile, so maybe if your mobile unit were in a fixed location, you might have to pay the lease for that fixed location that you were in. That would be a fixed cost. If you think of it in terms of retail, going back to Sharita over here, Sharita, Damon John, founder of Fubu, he started out the trunk of his car. And he did that so that he wouldn't have high fixed costs. So many other entrepreneurs, they try to start with a brick and mortar building. And they got the lease on this building, they got the electricity on this building, the water in that building, the insurance on that building, the POS system, the point of sale system, the cash register system. All of that they got to pay for before they sell their very first item. Right? So in the model that you're in, Sharita, under Mary Kay, they've eliminated all of that fixed cost for you because everything that you purchase is basically variable because you purchase it as you need it for the clients that you need it for. You probably have some inventory that you maintain, but again, that inventory is variable based upon how much you plan on selling. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So the secret, the reason I covered all this, ladies, is for you to understand, going back to here, and I'll come to volume in just a second. When you as an entrepreneur understand your economic model, which is on the screen here in front of you, when you understand what your revenue drivers are, you can make decisions about how to become more profitable, right? You eliminate those revenue drivers that are not generating money for you, and you add revenue drivers that are generating more money. You find different ways to separate your customers from their money, different ways that you can add value and get additional dollars from your customers. On the margin side, you find ways to lower your costs. That's conversations with your vendors, or lower your prices. Let's address that real quickly in terms of raising your prices. There's only one thing that you have to do to raise your prices, and a lot of entrepreneurs don't believe this, and they don't understand this, but it really is that simple. There's only one thing you have to do to raise your prices. Anybody know what that is?
Call the competitor.
Just decide.
Just say it.
Make a decision and do it. Once you make the decision to raise your prices, you have one thing that you have to do. And what is that?
Enforce it.
You got to communicate it to your customers, right? It's all about value. People pay for what it is that they value. How much I heard this all the time. And I'll give you two quick examples. I have a client that does counseling in California. She's in the San Diego area of California. She charges $325 an hour. I have a client here in Dallas that does the exact same counseling. She charges $75 an hour. What do you think the difference is?
Location, location, location.
That's what most people think it is, right? So let me change the product for you. How much does a Mercedes-Benz S-Class cost in California?
A lot.
How much does a Mercedes-Benz S-Class cost in Texas?
The
A
same.
lot.
Cost the same. So it's
Right.
not location,
Right.
is it? Right? The truth of it is it's value, value, value. My client in California, she's able to communicate her value to the customers and convince them that her service is worth $325 an hour. The client in Texas doesn't believe in her value enough. We're working on that. But right now, she doesn't believe in the value of her service enough to want to charge more. She gets hesitant. She gets nervous when she talks about raising prices because she feels like, well, I don't really know if I can go up there. And that's because she doesn't believe in the value of her product or service. People will pay for your product or service when you communicate the value of the product or service. The only thing that you have to do is raise your prices, is communicate the value of your product or service. When I first started doing motivational speaking, I charged $300 for a 1 hour speech. Now I charge $8,500 for the same speech. Same 1 hour for the same speech. Zig Ziglar taught me that. Zig Ziglar charged $60,000 for the same 58-minute speech for 35 years. 35 years, he never changed a word of his speech. I can tell you exactly when he was going to kneel down and prime the pump and talk about the red. I can tell you exactly the word for word what his speech was going to be. And he charged $60,000 for that 58-minute speech because he was able to communicate that speech was worth there. Les Brown charges $40,000 for a 60-minute speech. Tony Robbins charges $100,000 for a 90-minute speech. These folks are able to communicate the value of their product and or service, and people pay it. And so when you believe in your product or service enough, you can control your margins by raising your prices. And at the same way, when you believe in your product or service enough and the value of you as a customer, you can negotiate with your vendors. The reason you're not negotiating with your vendors is because you don't believe that you're valuable to your vendor. You think that you're just another customer, and you're not. You are valuable to the people who supply you. They want your business. And when you believe that and you believe in your value as a customer to that vendor, you'll be able to have those conversations and negotiate with them the same way that you can have conversations with your customers as you raise your prices. And the last one there is volume. Volume is pretty straightforward, ladies and gentlemen. You know, obviously, sell more, sell more, sell more. But the reality is you're one person. How much more can you sell? And how many more people can you interact with? So the secret to selling more is finding ways to multiply yourself. You find ways to multiply yourself by automating your systems. You find ways to multiply yourself by using what's called the gig economy. Who knows what the gig economy is? GIG, gig economy. So the gig economy is that economy of all these independent folks that are out there waiting for you to hire them as independent contractors. The one that used to be most familiar is now called Upwork, UPWORK, Upwork. I forget what it used to be called, Elance. It used to be called elance.com, and now it's called Upwork, UPWORK. But you can go on Upwork and you can type your project in Upwork and you can find independent contractors who will bid on working on your project at whatever level you want. So my logo was designed by Upwork. My brochures was designed by a graphic designer at Upwork. My website was designed by a web designer at Upwork. These are all folks that I just kept going to Upwork saying, I need somebody to do this. Who wants to bid on the project? And folks came in. That's the gig economy. So you can go out to the gig economy. You can find folks who will do sales for you, and they'll do sales for you on a commission basis. You can say, hey, I've got this product or service. I need somebody to do telephone sales. Who wants to do telephone sales? And somebody will bid on your project and say, I'll do telephone sales for you, so on and so forth. Then you can also connect with the university. So you guys are right here in touch right now with the program that you're going through at Texas Women's University. That university has students all over campus in the business part of it, folks taking business classes, folks taking marketing classes, folks taking classes that are associated with the types of services that you need. You can get Tracy and Adonna Lisa to help you identify instructors, lead instructors or lead professors on campus that you can have a conversation with where you can get interns, right? And these students will do it for grades, do certain things for grades. So certain things that you need, you can get help with and get them to do it for grades. Am I making sense there, ladies? So those are ways that you can increase your volume, and you do that. Basically what I'm saying is you do it by multiplying yourself, and you have to find the different ways to multiply yourself. And so in the end, what I wanted to come up to as we start to wrap up so that you ladies can ask me some questions is don't be afraid of your financials. Understand that all the financials look exactly the same. They all start on the top line with revenue, sales coming in. And from sales coming in, you take out all your costs. Variable cost is associated with the individual product or service. It moves with the product or service. Fixed costs that you pay no matter what. Separate that out, and that ends up with your net profit. Where you get fearful, most entrepreneurs get fearful, is in this variable cost thing. As a service person, you truly don't have to worry about this as often because there's really no variable costs associated with your service. There may be variable costs associated with your product, but there's really no variable costs associated with your service, except as Kelly and Dana mentioned, gasoline and transportation could be a variable cost if you tack that on to the cost of your service for you to move your mobile device to wherever you need to move it to. But if it's already built into your price and you've already set it up as a fixed price, right? Otherwise, you could have put it on this line right here instead of it said gasoline, variable costs, and then the more mileage that you drive, the more gasoline that you're using, so on and so forth. But once you understand that and you recognize that, be confident and comfortable because this is how you have to make decisions. This tool allows you to come back and say, from profits is where you buy assets. This is where you invest back into the business. From the profits, you buy assets. Because in your fixed costs, somewhere in here, you should have your salary, right? Another line, you got net profits, and then from the net profits, you're taking out your salary. Why not? There's a book from Mike Michaelowitz called Profit First. Mike Michaelowitz is his name. The book is called Profit First. He'll tell you to do this just the other way around. Start with your profit and then decide how much rental space you need. And that's what I'm suggesting here for you. Don't go out and get a $1,200 space. Instead, keep your fixed costs as low as possible, make profit, and then when you've made enough profit, say, I'm going to take X amount of this profit and I'm going to rent me a space, rent me a storage unit or whatever the case may be, or I'm going to hire me an individual. So it doesn't have to be rental space right here. This could be a new employee that you're paying $1,200 a month to. Well, instead of, you can build that $1,200 a month in there. Once you know what your profit's going to be, you can back out and say, I'm going to start a new fixed cost. My new fixed cost is this rental space right here is now going to be employee number one. And I'm going to pay employee number one $1,200. And then you operate from that until this net profit gets to where you want it to go again. And now you say, I can add employee number two and put another $1,200 in there for a new employee. So I'm going to pause right there and see what questions do you ladies have. I should have my chat open because I hadn't had it open. Short-term interns through Dewey Parker. Thank you, Simone, for sharing that. Interns are huge. Thank you, Stephanie, for sharing that as well. And Stephanie, you're not on my screen, so I didn't even know you were here. I guess I'm missing it.
Patrick, can you be my coach?
$500 an hour. I'm yours.
500 an hour. You have any deals for veterans?
I do. Come through the VBOC. If you come through the VBOC, my counseling and coaching is free. If you come outside of the VBOC, then I do charge $500 an hour. But yeah, if you come through the VBOC for veterans, my coaching and counseling are free.
So
Because
Patrick, Kelly
SBA already paid me to do that.
had a question,
Uh-huh.
near the, she has, if you want to go ahead, Kelly, you can go ahead and ask him.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and I don't want to take up everyone's time because I've been talking a lot on the call, so I can go last, Donna Lisa. If anyone else had questions or comments, I can wait because I was talking a lot, but I can wait until someone else
No,
poses their question.
No,
I
let's
think we all
go.
learn from each other.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's go.
So I'm just so thankful and excited. I believe in perfect timing. So everything that we discussed tonight was spot on, Patrick, in regards, I'm taking notes, and you were just talking about, when when you're ready to expand and grow. So with me, I'm due to hire my very first sales assistant. Like, I've been doing this thing a while on my own. And so now, I've been blessed to have funds acquired so I can pay for a sales assistant. And so I'm just want to hear the feedback from everyone on the call. So I'm just thinking I should pay them a commission as well as a set base pay for a minimum of 16 hours per week. And then that base pay, and I would love all feedback. Just tell me, what should I eliminate, the base pay or not? So the base pay, I just said $15 an hour, $16 a week, 16. I can share my screen. If you don't mind, I just want to share my screen just so you can see the exact formula I'm using, because if I can eliminate something, that would be good, if you don't mind. I can't share anything just yet. Let's see. Okay. Are you all able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll be quickly. Let me zoom in here. Okay. So I know I need to separate this, like you said, what's the fixed and the variable cost. And so this is the formula that I came up with myself. So I was thinking, minimum wage is obviously not $15, but I just thought, to make it attractive, $15 an hour at 16 hours per week. So that's $240. That will be a fixed cost, right? But as it relates to the commission, so my service is $300 an hour. And like, by you stating, what you charge an hour, and then also the other speakers, I feel like a little bit more confident in this 300, because some folks are like, $300 an hour. I'm like, yes, $300 an hour. So thanks for sharing that, because I am like a little weary to put that number out there, but I feel a lot better just hearing you speak about what you charge and what other folks are charging for their services. So I came up with this, this commission, 20% per $3,000 in sales for the sales assistant. So that's the quota they need to meet for them to get this commission of $712. So the cost would be, so they wouldn't receive this, unless they meet this quota. So $3,000 is technically, Patrick, 10 hours of my event service, right? And they would get 20% of that, equating to $712. In addition to this $240 a week. And so just to give you an idea what I'm working with, because I've been blessed with this $5,000. Sorry about the dog in the back. So I have $5,000. That's what I have to work with. So I just want to hear your perspective. Do you think I should drop this base fixed rate? Because that's what it is. That's $240. Do you think I should just drop it and just try to find other ways that I could just make it commission only? Or maybe just like you guys were saying, acquire like short-term revenues, or put it out on Upwork. And that was the plan, Patrick, to go to Upwork and, solicit bids for this sales assistant that is short-term. So, but I'm just debating, should I actually include this $15 an hour times 16 hours? Should I even include that?
I have a question.
It takes, yes.
Who is working to set up all of the booths, the canopies, and going to the events? Who does that?
That is all me. So
Okay.
I do that all by myself. Yep.
Something
Right, for
I
now.
would consider is
Mhm.
maybe consider sometime in the future franchising your business. so
Yes.
that others, you start networking because you are going to be your best salesman, better than anyone that you pay, because you believe in your business. And
Mhm.
so if you contract out or pay for people to do the setup, the heavy lifting part of setting up and all of that, and you're able to
Mhm.
send a team to go out, and then you have
Right.
maybe a fixed cost associated with that, maybe additional sales that they make, but then your investment would be sales, going
Right.
out and finding those contracts, and then eventually you can franchise and say, hey, look, I've already got the leads, I've already got the connections, I just need people that want to do this. You do, you pay this, and then I give you this, I give you the leads. Just a thought.
Yeah, and so thank you for that thought, and I will have taken that for notes. And so just a little bit about me. So I do work a full-time job, and that's why I wanted to acquire a sales assistant to join my journey. Because, as we know, COVID, there's no telling what could happen. Events could just stop. And so I still need to work to provide for my family. And so that's why I wanted to get a sales assistant so they can go out and assist with generating the leads and secure those events. And so that
Kelly,
is like,
if I could share with you because I just finished up a short-term internship. I use Upwork a lot for project works, but you are restricted. You have to continue using Upwork with that gig worker. What I found with Parker Dewey or Dewey Parker, I'm not sure if I got that right. But they work with college students, and I just finished a 1-month short-term internship with her, micro internship, and I was able to teach her a lot, and we took it seriously. I included some training hours in there, and I taught her about organic marketing through LinkedIn. She already had some experience, but not with my niche, right? And so I taught her these things, and she is fantastic. And I gave her $15 an hour. At first I was going to say 10, but I upped it to 15, and she was very happy with that. And then now, since the contract's over with this particular Dewey Parker, I can continue working with her separately. So there's no restriction. There's no non-compete there. I'm free to use her now. And
Okay.
so we extended our relationship, our contract. And I'm thinking about giving her a little bit of commission too, nothing like that, but I think it worked great.
okay, Dewey Parker, I wrote that down.
It might be
Okay.
So I
Parker
could jump
Dewey.
in, I could jump in there for you, Kelly, and go back to your specific question that you asked. And you hate this because I'm answering a question with a question. And that is, when you plug these numbers into your financials, right? How does that $960 overhead cost affect your overall financials?
It's a drastic impact, Patrick. So just going back to like how I'm supporting this cause, I have $5,000 right now to just start paying the sales assistant. So
And
that's
And what's your expectation on when that number breaks through? Because that $5,000 is going to be gone.
right.
And now you want to try and keep this person as an employee and keep moving forward. So where is the break even point to pay for that $960?
Right.
How many gigs do you have to have? How often do you have to set up in order for you to afford that $900? Because what you did is you got a $500,000 lump sum of money and you're spending it. That's not, I hate to say it this way, but I'm just gonna say it. That's not an effective way to do it, right?
Okay.
You want to
Yeah.
let the numbers speak to you. So you
Okay.
got to ask yourself, how many? What do you call it? You call it a setup or pop up? How many pop ups?
Right. So
How many pop ups do you have to do to be able to afford to pay $960?
yep. So I would really only have to do because I'm in charge. It's an hourly service, Patrick.
Uh-huh.
So 300. It could be 300 times technically 4. That would get me to $1,200 to afford that $960 payment. But they would only get the
Right, the
700
commission afterward.
Yeah, afterward.
So stay with my question here, because
Okay.
this is how you got to use your financials to answer that question.
Okay.
You got to go back and say, So what's the average amount of time that your pop-up is up?
5 hours.
5 hours. And what's the
Mhm.
average price that you get paid for your pop-up?
$1,500.
So 5 hours, so $300 times 5 hours. That's what you get for your pop-up.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And so when you get paid $1,500 for your pop-up, what are your costs associated with that one pop-up?
So these are the main costs for a 10-hour event. So I just try to break it down. These are the main costs right here. Sorry. The
But we just
event-
did 5 hours, right?
Yep. So it'll be half of that.
Okay.
Yep.
So from that
If I have a
$1,500,
sales assistant, yep.
so from that $1,500, you got to pay out roughly $350, $360.
Yes.
No other costs you have to spend after you've been paid $1,500 and you do your pop-up. You
Mhm.
got to pay out $360 and you're done. The balance is, what is that? $1,140 is your profit.
Yeah, yeah, but
Okay,
these
now
are my
you-
yeah. This is just, I try to break it down like for the events, like for the
Right.
event, because it is an hourly service, Patrick. And
Right,
then I do also have my monthly overhead costs right now.
right. So before we get to the monthly overhead,
Okay,
we now, just in that one event that you had, you ended up with $1,140 because you did one event, you made $1,500 in revenue came in, but you
Right.
spent $360 on the cost for that one event. That
yes,
leaves you with $1,140 left from that one event.
right,
All right. If you don't do another event that month, all of these overhead costs you still have.
mm-hmm,
So let's take out the 960. It's
okay.
1475 minus 960, whatever that number is. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna put the calculator up, 14.
Yeah.
70.
You missed it.
Oh, you can see my calculator too? Okay,
Yeah, I see it. Go 1475 minus 960.
okay,
The pennies don't matter to me. All right, so 515. So now you just went from $1,140
mm-hmm,
and you just lost another $500. So you're now at 640 minus 15, you're at $625.
mm-hmm,
That's your profit. From that one, if that's all your cost, that's your profit,
right,
right?
okay.
600, what did we just come up with? I forgot.
I think you said $625.
Yeah, let's call it 620, make my math easy. So $620, that's your profit.
Okay,
So when you do one show, you don't have enough money to pay 960,
right, right,
right? Because all you got is $620.
right.
And you had, where are you paid in here? I'm looking. Where are you paid?
I don't include myself.
Okay, we
Yeah.
got a problem there now,
Yeah.
right? So that the first fixed cost you need to have in there is yourself. Where's your salary? Where's your wages as a fixed cost?
Well,
Because
I
you're
include
trying
that-
to.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I included in the hourly rate for the $300 because that's, I'm providing the access control in and out the mobile milk space. And so I include that in there with the $300 an hour.
Well, the $300 an hour is what you're charging. That's the revenue that you have coming in, and how much of that $300 an hour is your salary? Is your pay?
$100.
$100?
Yeah,
Okay, so you're getting ready to pay somebody 960, but you're paying yourself 100.
okay,
See what just happened?
yeah,
You're gonna pay somebody 960 plus commission, and you're only paying yourself 100.
okay,
But I'm not saying right or wrong. I just want you to see your numbers and know what you're actually doing. See your numbers and know what's going on. So with one showing or one pop-up, you ended up with $620 left over. So you can say that $620 is your money, but it literally is going back into the business, right? That's what it is. That's the profit that goes back into the business. That's
Right.
But you only have 620, so you don't have enough money to pay that 960 out yet.
I understand, yes,
So now when you do a second pop-up, we double that number, you got $1,240. if you pay a sales assistant, that's $12.40 minus $9.60, whatever that is, that's $160, $180. All right, $12.40 minus $9.60, $280. Yeah, 280. So now you got $280. Now this is again, that's the money you have left to put back into your business. That's how you growing your business with that 280. So you got to ask yourself, Kelly, am I happy and am I comfortable growing my business by paying because all you made off of this whole deal so far is $100. But you just paid somebody else you paid a sales assistant $9.60. You paid yourself $100. You got 280 left over, and that 280 is going back into your business. You can say, I'm gonna put that 280 back in my pocket and pay yourself more, but you're still underpaying yourself compared to the sales assistant.
So the $100 is the hourly rate for myself. So the sales assistant is getting paid either that's close to what I'm getting paid, but the $100 an hour. So if it's a 10-hour event, I would make $1,000.
Okay, and the
I have
sales
a
assistant.
question. Can I ask a
Mhm.
question?
Uh-huh.
On average, how many women are going to be serviced an hour?
Maybe 3. That's the max occupancy in the mobile milk space. So 3.
3, and you're charging $100 an hour? 300 an hour?
Yes.
Yeah, she's charging the vendor.
Yes.
Charging the vendor, and how long does the woman stay inside for?
30 minutes to 45 minutes.
I kind of feel like you're not charging enough for this.
Right.
service.
That's the
Oh my
point that we're
goodness.
making here.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
That's the point that
Yeah.
we're making.
Definitely not making, because you figure if you have these different places and it's the law for the employer to provide a comfortable place, private and everything. This is a very low, I think you're charging a very low price for something that is required by law that most places don't have. Because you look at that conference, what happened with the what was it that I might be way out in left field, but where it was a volleyball tournament or something, and the
Right.
coach couldn't even take her child in
Right.
to do that. I really, really, really think you're undercharging these companies for this service. I really, really do.
Okay. And I think, so this is just hearing, you guys say that is just reinforcing, I do need to increase the price. And even my revenue generators, I may need to just focus on a specific customer segment, because this is the roadblock I'm having, ladies and gentlemen, is that when I present the service, they view me as a vendor, as an exhibitor. I'm neither. I'm a service
Exactly.
solution for your event. And so oftentimes they'll and I'll just be frank, for instance, Dallas Farmers Market, initially, they didn't want to pay me, we'll waive the vendor fee. I'm neither. Like, I'm not a vendor exhibitor, I'm a service solution for your event. And that's what I've been getting with a lot of events. And so I'm thinking maybe I need to go bigger with corporate businesses that are hosting events opposed to local events, because
Kelly,
they don't want to pay that high dollar right now.
Kelly, that may not be where your solution lies. Your solution may lie in your value proposition, right?
Okay.
So it sounds like you may not have done an effective job in communicating your value proposition, where folks are seeing you as a vendor. Bernadine just said something that I didn't know about the law. So in your value proposition, you may have to communicate how you are making them more compliant. You're solving their compliance problem because they are not compliant with the law. And so you're solving a compliance. You always have to think in terms of what problem are you solving. So
Right,
you're not just solving a problem for the woman who's trying to nurse.
right,
You're solving a problem for the organization who's trying to stay compliant with the law.
okay,
When that becomes your value proposition, now you are more valuable, right?
okay,
It's not just that you're providing a service for these women. The service that you're providing for me, the event planner, is you're making sure that I'm in compliance and that I'm not violating any laws.
okay.
Does that make sense?
It
So
does
you
make
gotta,
perfect sense.
yeah, so you gotta make that part of your value proposition. And what I would do if it were me, I would make sure that I understand that law clearly, and that I understand the penalties associated with that law. So when you sell the value proposition, you sell against the penalties,
Mm,
right?
okay,
When you're selling to your vendors, when you're selling to your exhibitors, when you're selling to corporations, you're not just, I know where your heart and your head is. Your heart and your head is, I want to sell this service so that you can make this available for women.
yes,
But I can tell you, as a corporation, I don't care. As a corporation, what I care about is I'm not going to get in trouble with the law.
right, right.
I care about compliance, right?
Okay.
I first, believe it or not, I care first about profits. Then I care about compliance. I want to make sure I'm not violating any laws. And then I
Right.
start caring about my people. That's not me. That's the corporate culture that's out there in America, right? This is not
Understood,
Patrick,
right,
the corporate
Okay.
culture. So you got to speak that language. You either have to give them something that's going to increase their profits.
yes,
So when you sell your value proposition, you sell a value proposition in terms of profits. You can, one of the ways you sell that as a value proposition is your employees don't have to take time off work, don't have to go away. And so you don't lose any profits from them being away from the job. You connect it to their profits, right?
Right.
And
Right.
then you connect it to their costs. It doesn't cost them to have to create the service on their own, or it doesn't
Right.
cost them to have to provide this on their own because you've modularized this particular service for them. So now you save them on their costs. So
Right.
you've increased their profits, you save their costs, and then the third thing that they care about is compliance. And the
Okay.
laws say that you have this, that, and the other thing. And so by having me on your site, you are in compliance with these laws, so on and so forth.
Right.
And that's where corporations and even event planners start to listen to you. But your value proposition has got to touch on those three things that
Yes.
matter to the vendor, right?
yes,
The vendor loves that they're providing a service, but not as much as they love that they're not violating the law.
right,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, and
yeah,
Kelly, I have as just an idea. I mean, I think it's already out there, if I'm not mistaken. We flew into Atlanta and I think there was pods.
Mamava, that's my main competitor. They focus on indoor lactation space. So Mamava and Leech Lounge, like of my research, they are my two main competitors, and they focus on indoor lactation space. And so my thing is, women are not just at work. So there is workplace legislation that focuses on employers and what they provide for their employees. But as in terms of women are not just work outdoors, when you're not at work, we're everywhere. So I want to make sure that service is available. It's just hard to translate the law as it relates to a workplace for events. But I hear what Patrick is saying, because still, sorry about my dog, he's whining in the back, I'm sorry. But still, as a company, a corporation, you still have employees that are working your event. So, and then you have to look at like the 50 or more employees, because it's real sticky, that language. So I need to figure out, when I'm developing my proposals for potential clients, how to incorporate that language for the federal legislation as it relates to the workplace, and how that transcends into the event. And also there's state legislation that Texas has for, like, the state of Texas for breastfeeding. I need to start plugging in that legislation. And I'll be frank, like, I was afraid, like, you need to be compliant, but ultimately I understand what Patrick is saying. Like, this is a compliance issue. I need to make sure that's built into my value proposition as it relates to outdoor, not the workplace, but technically it is the workplace because you're a corporation hosting an event. And so I understand that, Patrick. I'll build that in. And I don't want to take too much time. But
That's okay, Kelly. I'm going to
say
say this, and then I'll get
Okay.
somebody else to ask a question. But I like what you said about your competitors, but here's the light at the end of the tunnel that I want to give you about your competitors. Netflix was a Blockbuster competitor, but so was Redbox. But I don't know if you know the reason why Redbox was a competitor. It's because when Netflix came along and Netflix started streaming everything, internet was not available in rural communities. So as much as Netflix wanted to be the service provider, they could not be the service provider in rural communities. Blockbuster was not building blue and yellow buildings in rural communities. And Netflix there was no internet being provided in rural communities. And so that became the niche for Redbox, to be able to set up a Redbox vending machine everywhere where where the internet is really poor and there's not a blue and yellow brick building. So the same thing for you. They look like your competitors, but you have a niche. You have a space that you're operating in that they're not operating in. Does that make sense? And you should leverage that. Who else has a question or a comment regarding? And I hope what I tried to do, and I hope what you all heard just now was, I try to take Kelly back to her financials because she's wanting to shoot from the hip right now. She's got this $5,000 and she wants to spend this $5,000 to add an employee. And it's a good thought. But if you make the mistake and you spend that $5,000 to add an employee, but you don't have an infrastructure in place, or you don't have the recurring revenue in place to sustain that employee, then it becomes a temporary thing. And then you end up, you never want to have to let people go, right? So you don't want to hire somebody, bring them on board, and then you're not able to sustain business to keep it going. So back up, do the math, and ask yourself, what's my break even? How many pop-ups do I have to do in order to afford a $960 employee? And then when you've got it figured out, that right now it sounds like that might be 3 pop-ups, because we just went to 2 and we were at $1,200 and something dollars and so forth. But you made 1,000 and the employee made 960, so on and so forth. So maybe at 3, I don't know, you'll figure it out when you do the math, but maybe at 3 pop-ups. And so now what you do is you look back and say, can I count on, and can I make it part of the job description that this person that I'm hiring, I can't hire you unless we can do 3 pop-ups. That's something they have to understand. We got to do 3 pop-ups if you coming on to work for me. If we're not doing 3 pop-ups, I don't have a job for you. Does that make sense? So you got to know what your break even is.
Okay, thank you.
All right, who else has a question or comment? Tracy, how are we doing on time?
You are getting very close.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've got like 3 minutes, Patrick.
That's great. So let me wrap up. If you have a question, just chime in and cut me off, right? I don't want to have dead space. So I'll talk until somebody has a question. So the point that I want to make, and I want all of you ladies to understand, is this: the numbers will dictate for you. Don't shoot from the hip. Don't just, I heard you say, Kelly, you know when you're ready to go. No, the numbers know when you're ready to grow. You don't know. The numbers know when you're ready to grow. And all you got to do is plug the numbers into your current financials and say, if I'm paying out $960, where am I left here? And don't forget about yourself, because that's where many solopreneurs are. They're not paying themselves a salary because they feel like they're in business. Now you own a job. You don't own a business. You own a job. If you really want to own a business, then treat it like, I think it was Stephanie or somebody said, treat it like you're building a franchise. Everybody should be designing their business in a way as though they're thinking about franchising their business, which means you're creating all the standard operating procedures and all the processes and all the protocols and everything as though you're going to franchise it and so forth. So you should be able to walk away from your business, and the business should be able to keep running. Otherwise, you own a job. Same thing with you, Sharita. That's the reason why Mary Kay has a system that they have where you can build downlines, right? It gives you the opportunity to be able to walk away from you having to do the direct sale yourself. Don't neglect that system. Don't think that the only way that you can be successful in that system is you become the salesperson all on your own and you got to keep doing all these shows. believe the system and trust the system and build your downline, right? Build your downline. Don't avoid that and so forth. But know your numbers, know your revenue drivers. How many more do you need to add? Which ones do you need to take away? Know your margins. Raise your prices and communicate the value of these new prices, and then communicate your value as a customer to your vendors so that you can lower your costs. That's what I have for you today, ladies. I hope this was helpful.
Oh, it was great, Patrick.
Yes, thank you.
We had someone in a program recently that had been in business over 5 years and had never really done the numbers. And I mean, so once working that, she was so excited. And she also knew why she hadn't been making money before, that you really need to pay attention to that part of the business.
Yeah, and you can't leave it to your accountant and your bookkeepers. You got to understand, your bookkeeper's job is to put the numbers in the books, right? You go make the numbers, and they put the numbers in the book and make sure they're in the right place, but they can't make decisions for you. They can't tell you hire another employee, get more space, order more inventory. They can't make those decisions for you. They just make sure your numbers show up in the books right. And the same thing with an accountant. All they're going to do is take the numbers and report it on your taxes appropriately. But they don't make the decisions for you. Those are decisions that you as the entrepreneur have to make. And you can only make those decisions when you know how those numbers interact with one another.
Great. Well,
I put into the chat Business Beyond the Battlefield Conference coming up here in October. It's October 5th through the 7th and so forth. We have 1 full day devoted to access to capital. We have 1 full day devoted to entrepreneurial leadership. We're doing John Maxwell's Live to Lead. And then we have 1 full day on entrepreneurship through acquisition, which may not be, because most of you are already in business, so that may not be something that you're interested in, entrepreneurship through acquisition and franchising. But I would say the franchising part is something that you should be interested in so that you can understand how to turn your business into a franchise. How do you document your processes, and how do you document everything that you're doing so that you can turn your business into a franchise, whether you're thinking of franchising it or not? That gives you a solid business so that you're no longer owning a job, but you actually own a business. So, and there it is right there, ladies and gentlemen. I would take advantage of that. And the other reason I would take advantage of that is right now, if you go to the early bird, it's $149 for the early bird. You ladies have money now, so I encourage you to spend $150 of it, come to this conference and so forth, because at the early bird right now, you have an opportunity to get free hotel stay, 3 nights hotel stay, and take the Profit Mastery class, which is a 2-day class where we literally go in and we do case studies with the financials. You can actually see how to use your financials. You can bring your financials to the class, and we will walk you through how to use your financials to make financial decisions. So that's open right now. We're only taking 20 people in that class. And that closes on the 15th of July. So make sure that you register before the 15th of July. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Patrick. I guess now you can finish your cake.
I believe it. When I went off camera, that cake was gone.
Oh, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Donalisa, what's up next?
Patrick will be up again next week for marketing, so he can help you with your unique value proposition. And that's all we have. So I will send out this recording in the next day or so.
Great. Thank you, Patrick, and happy birthday again.
Thank you. Bye, ladies. Have a good evening. We'll see you next week.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you, ladies. Anyone have any additional questions or anything on what you need to be doing now?
You probably want to stop recording.
Okay.